Hey guys, Saban here with another tutorial in After Effects, and what I'm going to be showing today is how to use the Rotobrush tool to isolate objects within the scene of your footage. And I just want to say that I'm sorry that I kind of disappeared for a month again, but I moved house and I didn't really have any internet for a month because we changed ISPs, but they couldn't actually install then the new phone line connection due to the delays because of the snow. But now I have some pretty fast internet now, which was worth the wait, as I can actually live stream editing now, so that'll be pretty good because I couldn't do that before because my internet was way too slow. But anyway, let's head on into the tutorial in After Effects. And right here I have some examples on how you can use the Rotobrush tool, and I decide to isolate the man within a Quad 4 cinematic. So basically what you can do, you can isolate a certain area from the original background. So as you can see, I decided to add just some blue background with some text from the actual original scene the man was actually in. And another example here is where you can actually isolate an area so you can apply effects to just that object. So I decided to make the man green, so I use a Rotobrush so I can just select the man itself and not the rest of the scene. So let's begin with the tutorial, and what I've got here is just a start marker and end marker of where I want the Rotobrush to start and end. And basically the Rotobrush tool is located next to the other brush tools, and it's the little man with the paintbrush, I think, yeah. And if you just click on that, you now have the Rotobrush tool selected. But like every other brush within After Effects, you have to be in the layer panel to actually be able to use the brush. So if you double click on the layer, you are now in the layer panel. And oh yeah, you want to make sure that the resolution is on full to allow the Rotobrush to work to its full potential, as you'll have a lot more pixels to work with. So the higher resolution the footage, the better the Rotobrush is going to work. So back in the layer panel, and what you want to do is you just want to make a rough, kind of roughly color in the area you want to mask out. So as you can see, it gives us this little pink area, and I want to select the gun and the arm, and as you can see the brush is far too big right now. And basically to change the size of it, if you just hold down Command or Control if you're on a PC, and then just click and drag to adjust the size of the brush. So around that will do, and then I'll just zoom in and maybe a bit smaller, and I can just select the arm and gun like so. And what we're doing right now, we're just kind of creating a master frame which the Rotobrush will then calculate the other frames when we go to them. And as you can see, this isn't actually part of the man, it's the ground. But if you want to get rid of an area that the Rotobrush tool has selected, like here, what you want to do is you want to hold down Alt, and then it will become red, and you can just as easily get rid of things as well, like so. And I'm just gonna quickly create a mask around the man. Okay, so now that I'm pretty much done with creating our main frame, so I could just get that walkie-talkie in there. What we want to do now is use page up and page down to go frame by frame. So page down is going a frame forward, and page up to go a frame behind. And we just want to go through the frames and look out for any problems that may occur. Most of the time the problems, little kind of problems, will just occur along the edges. As you can see here, we went forward a frame and it's decided to select some of the ground, as it gets confused with similar colors. Like as you can see here, the feet are quite contrasted with the bright ground, so we won't have many problems here. But over here where it's quite dark near his arm and it's also quite dark in the back, we will be getting more problems here. So those are the main areas you want to be looking out for, where the colors are similar. But where they're highly contrasted, like here, you can be pretty much sure that no problems will occur there. So you just want to carry on going frame by frame, and I'll just zoom in a bit, and it's pretty much all good right now. We can see that we have a little blotch there that I just want to select, and if I just carry on going forward, you can see that it's really quite accurate, as it's quite an intelligent tool. But as you carry on doing it, you might think that this is a relatively tedious process, but if you have ever rotoscoped before, you'll know that it does bore the hell out of you, unless you enjoy rotoscoping. But this really just saves you having to adjust each and every pixel for each and every frame, so it's really quite a time saver just going like this. And because this tool is so intelligent, we hardly have to amend anything. And as you use, like, the more you use the Rotobrush, like right now, it seems as if it gets the gist of what you're masking, and it seems to like anticipate your every move in like what you actually want to mask. And I'm just going to pause and skip the tutorial here, as I'm sure you probably don't want to sit there watching me for about half an hour just roto brushing this man out, as this footage is 500 frames per second, so that means I have to have a lot of frames to rotoscope out. So I'll just come back as soon as I've done this little area that I want to rotoscope. Okay, so now that I've finished roto brushing out this man, I'd like to bring your attention to this little timeline that is created by the roto brush. When you first start roto brushing, it will come up with this little timeline, and basically the little golden point here, if we drag the current time indicator, is where the rotoscope first starts, and then for me it ends over here. And as you can see, you have this little area here, and this is where the roto brush is going to be previewed in. So if you want it to end here, you're just going to want to put the current time indicator where you want it to end, so it's on the end for me, and I'll just bring it in and make it end there. And it's already at the beginning for me, but otherwise you would just bring it in to the beginning. So now only this little area is going to be previewed for rotoscoping. And what we want to, and basically if you want to see your rotoscope, there are 3 icons down here, and basically the first one gives you an alpha channel, so it will give you this black and white, so the black will be removed and the white will be kept there. There's the alpha boundary, which is just the normal view, and you have this alpha overlay where it kind of tints it red and you can actually see what you're working with. And I like working with this a lot, and it kind of lets me see what I've actually got, and if I am missing something I can still see it, whereas if you've got the alpha boundary you can't really see, if you've actually got the alpha channel you can't really see what's going on. And of course you can kind of change the color to suit your eyes. And what you want to do now is to make sure that this is saved and will be previewed in the composition. You want to click freeze, and basically it will just lock it in and it won't be able to get edited, so that if you accidentally hit a button it might just get like it might like adjust it to how you don't want it. So just click freeze, and it might take a little bit, but after it's done I'll quickly come back. Okay, so now that it's done, you can see that it's now frozen and I can't really adjust anything, and it won't really make a difference. You just click the button and then you can rotoscope it further. But now if we go back into the composition tab, we'll see what we actually have here, and as you can see, it's just kept what was within that purple mask, and it's a pretty good mask right now. But if we just quickly go into the layer panel again, and if I just go to about here, if I quickly click on this, you see when we first started rotobrushing, the rotobrush effect was applied to the footage, and we have some features in here which will help to refine the mask itself, because as you can see, in some parts it's kind of jagged and it's not really the best. So if we just click refine matte, it will do its automatic default calculations to make it a lot smoother, and as you can see, it cleared 1 or 2 pixels there, and it might not really seem like it did much for that frame in particular, but overall it would have actually done quite a lot and it would look a lot better. What it does do, it adds motion blur, which would make it a lot smoother, but this is already quite slow footage, so you won't really see that blur too much. And of course you can adjust these to how you want. If you want if you want the mask to be a bit smoother, you can obviously just increase the smoothness of it. I might put it to 4, but you want to bear in mind that sharp edges will no longer be sharp, or they'll be more rounded if the smoothness is relatively high. I want it to, and if you want to do, you can just feather it out. It's kind of like the basic masking properties here, and this reduced chatter property is quite good because I tend to turn this all the way up to 100%, and it won't, you would pretty much see nothing change on that frame, but throughout the frames, like together, it will make a lot of a difference, as the noises and the noise pollution and the chatters within the footage, when you're working on it, the rotobrush kind of picks it up and it does alter the rotobrush not that well, like not to how you want it really. I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm sure you kind of get what I mean. But yeah, reduced chatter helps a lot, and the rest you can like mess around with. I don't really use them too much, but these are the main like 3-4 properties that I use, and they help to improve the mask quite a bit. So we just take off the alpha channel and just turn on the alpha boundary and go back into the composition. You can see what we have is really quite smooth now, and you can see it's kind of soft, really soft on the edge, but when you see it in fast motion, you can't really see it that much when you start to add effects on it. And as you can see, it's got no background on, it's just a plain black background. So what we can do is, like, if you want it to be isolated, you can add whatever you want your background, and as you can see, you now have it isolated. And if you do want to add just an effect to that certain area that you rotoscoped out, what you want to do is click on your layer and then hit Command D to duplicate it, and then on the bottom layer delete the rotobrush effect, and it will just be, if you just hide the top one, it will just be the normal footage. So if you turn off the bottom one, you can see it's just the rotoscope man. So now what you can do is get whatever you want. I'll just get hue and saturation again, and I'll just pop it onto the top layer, and I'll just muck around with it for a bit. And as you can see, if I just turn it down to half, we don't really need it at full res anymore because we're not really using the rotobrush. You can see that over here where we rotoscoped it, in the area we rotoscoped it, it only affects the area we masked out. What I'm doing here is like kind of basic with the effects and different things you can do, as you could add a lot of motion graphics, title pages and stuff you want to do, but this is the basis on how to use a rotobrush tutorial, like how to use a rotobrush tool to save a lot of time when you have to mask things out. I just find this such a powerful tool. I personally find it really amazing because when I do a lot of my editing, I usually end up having to mask stuff out, and with this Rotobrush tool it's just so much easier and quicker that it's just made editing a lot more fun to do. And of course I'm sure After Effects will be, like, well, not After Effects, Adobe will be improving this tool as it's such a good tool. And I'm sure in the new creative suites of After Effects that it will be a lot more improved, and in a sense it's kind of the beginning of the end of the green screen, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this tutorial. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe and all that other stuff. I'm sorry that this tutorial was quite long and I kind of jittered in one or two places because I kind of forgot what I was saying, because it's kind of confusing in having to explain some of the stuff when it comes to Rotobrush, but in the end, after a bit of practice, it's such a powerful tool. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next tutorial.